Welcome to International Securities Exchange's podcast series. Facilitated by renowned educators, ISE podcasts are intended to teach beginning as well as seasoned investors the ins and outs of trading. To find an updated list of podcasts, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts. Please be sure to listen to our important message following this episode regarding the risks of investing in exchange-traded options.
Welcome. This is Steve Meisinger, your host for today's ISE webinar. Today I'm pleased that we have Jack Crooks with us, and Jack will be talking about trading using FX options. Jack is the president of Black Swan Capital. Jack writes a daily newsletter. There's a free one and there's some paid ones, and Jack will talk a little bit more about that at the end, all its different offerings. But Jack's an expert in the currency market, so always pleased to have Jack join us here at the ISE. So thanks again, Jack, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your day. Spend here, listen to hopefully something you can take away. This is a topic, trend trading, that, needless to say, people write books on. We don't have time to do a book on here, nor do I think you need to read a book on understanding what trend trading is all about. Steve and I were discussing earlier, I think trend trading for the average investor that doesn't have time to, watch the news or trade shorter term, that has a real job type of thing and can use some basic indicators, very, simple models. You don't have to get crazy for trend trading, some very simple crossover models, and I'll show you some examples that can really do well. And I guess the bottom line of trend trading as a viable way to trade, as opposed to trying to, as we said, pick tops or read the fundamental tea leaves and look for opportunities and value and those types of things. The bottom line in the power of trend trading is that, some of the people that have been the major money managers in the world, the most successful long-term money managers in the world, are primarily trend trading. They realize that they don't know what the market's going to do, and they just kind of, in the words of a gentleman named Bill Dunn, who happens to live here in our town, major commodity trading advisor for many years, highly successful in the business. He refers to trend trading as just riding the bucking bronco. So, and that's what it's all about. And as I said, often I get hung up on trying to pick tops and bottoms, and when you look back and look at the trend, in hindsight, it looks very easy. In real time, sometimes it's not quite as easy, but hopefully, if you practice with some simple models yourself, you'll see some opportunities. And because of the nature of the Forex and the ability to go out 6, 8, 12, 11 months in the FX option on the ISE product, I think the ISE options product from a trend trading longer term standpoint, intermediate to longer term, is a very good product for this, because not only do you get the leverage of the Forex option if you're right, you also have, as I said, you can go out further, and you also know exactly what your risk is if you're wrong. So I think it's a really great product for, intermediate to longer term trend trading in these markets that tend to trend better than other markets and currencies, and I'll talk to that in just a second. Go through our disclaimers quickly. And here's a look at the ISE lineup of currencies. And the ISE product, as I said, I think is a great product for the average retail investor. You can do these in your normal brokerage account. They're exchange listed with complete transparency and pricing. You can see them on your online platform no matter where you trade with your equity broker. They're cash settled, very straightforward. They look just like a stock option. If you know how to trade a stock option, you'll know how to trade the FX options. The only difference is the underlying product is a currency, and that's the only difference here that we're talking about. And, Steve has written here, you traded the spreads. You can do any type of strategy you do on your stock side of the fence with options that you can do with FX options. As I said, just the difference is the underlying and how the underlying trades a little differently than stocks, because currencies, move a little differently because of the nature of currencies. They have all the 6 major currencies, and they've just added the Mexican peso, New Zealand dollar, and Swedish krona to the lineup, and ISC is really, I think, doing a great job of pushing forward and trying to make this product viable, and has so far. And I think it really fits very, very well into a retail account. Steve can talk to whether or not these should be short-term traded. I tend to think they're better off longer-term traded, using these 3-month, 6-month time frames at least to trade this product. But if you see opportunities near-term or see event trade set up, something very, very short-term, they're great for that too on occasion. Trend trading. The reason people get into trend trading, and the reason it is, I guess you could say, as I said, the bottom line is we just don't know what the market will do. We can all, and I do it a lot, we can all pretend we know what the market's going to do. We can have degrees of confidence on what the market's going to do, but the reality is we never know. And as Steve said, we never know how high prices are going to go. We never know how low prices are going to go. They usually fool you and go higher than you think, and go lower than you think. And one of the core aspects of trend trading is you're buying high and selling higher, selling low and selling lower. You're assuming that momentum that's in place will continue, and it makes some sense. The probabilities suggest that the momentum is one way, it will continue as opposed to turn, and that's really just the bottom line of trend trading. It's not a matter of looking at all the fundamentals in the market or reading the news. The core information that you take away to trend trade is very, very simple. It's price and price action. That's your sole driver. The advantage, as we said, is you don't have to try and pick tops and bottoms, and it's a lot less stressful way to trade. You know where you're getting in usually, and you know where you're getting out, because a trend trading setup or a model, so to speak, can be very sophisticated or it can be very simple. Again, I think even if you talk to some of the major money managers in the world that use trend trading, they'll tell you that they keep it simple. A lot of these guys that have been very successful for years and years in good markets and bad, and they've had some bad years, but in general, they've stuck to their trend trading methodology, and I think they'll tell you that they use very, very simple, what's referred to as algorithms or models, and most of them could put on the back of a napkin, written in crayon, what their model is for trend trading, a lot of their systems. So they keep it simple and try and reduce the number of variables that make the most sense, that just allow you to follow price, and that's what it's all about. The major disadvantage of trend trading is you can tend to get whipsawed. And whipsawed meaning is you think you're entering a trend and the market is overdone one way or the other, and it snaps back and shakes you out of a trend. Now that goes to picking your time frames right, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. To find more podcasts on options, stocks, alternative markets, and market data, please visit www.isc.com/podcasts.